Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It is Shelby here today with a very special guest, Amy Frame, who I will introduce in just a second, but welcome. We're so glad you are here, and I wanted to pop just couple announcements in your brain before we jump in on this very juicy topic this week. Mark your calendars for April 21st. We're going to be having a trauma-informed coaching webinar with our wonderful friend / coach / therapist, Jessica DeMarcus. She is a trauma certified therapist. She is our resident expert that can bridge the gap between coaching and therapy. We can't think of anyone better to be hosting this workshop for us. So if you want to be with us live or catch the recording, go to our website. It is going to be on April 21st, and you can register for the workshop there. And switching gears here to a super juicy topic with one of our lead mentors, Amy Frame. We're going to be talking today about how to give yourself permission to be where you are. And this is, I hope that there are several nuggets that you get to take away from this episode, but this is probably one of the most important keys to success, which we will get into. But a little bit more about Amy. Like I said, she's one of our lead mentors. She also is one of our lead preceptor coaches. Amy is amazing. And I've seen Amy coach quite a bit. And Amy just has like this warm, fuzzy feeling. As a coach, there's nothing too scary, too spicy, too out there for Amy. She is just a master at being able to kind of keep a loving poker face on. She's excellent at it, and her clients feel it. I've again watched her in practice, and what I sense and pick up on, all of our clients sense and pick up on as well. But that is just one of the hats that Amy wears. She also has a one-on-one practice where she operates under the label of as a transformational life coach and does some holistic business coaching as well. And Amy, you have been a coach how long now? Like almost 2 years?
Yeah, a little over 2 years, Shelby.
Yeah. And it feels like so much longer than that because I feel like your life experience really adds on a few years to your resume there. You would not know that you are, I even hesitate to use the word newer because that's not it. But Amy has experienced some epically wild success as a coach right out of the gate. She's one of the highest performers in our field, and we're just really excited to have you here and to dive into this juicy, meaty subject of giving yourself some permission to let you off the hook, man. Like let's jump into it. So welcome. We're glad you're here.
Yes, thank you so much, Shelby. It is amazing to be here. I'm really, really excited for today's topic.
Yeah, so me too. And this is one of those like pieces of advice that I wish that I could give to every human ever. Like, I don't know that this just applies to business or coaching, but just as like life advice. I don't know that we have the qualifications to be giving just straight up life advice. But if this was one that I was going to die on this hill, it would be this nugget right here. And we kind of want to give you a little bit of context of what we're talking about here, of giving yourself the permission to be where you are. And we want to talk about our mentees a little bit, just like from a really vague, protected point of view, because this is something that a lot of our clients navigate. Like, this is something that a lot of my clients, they, you, as Laura puts it, you're at the peak of Mount Stupid, right? On the Dunning-Kruger effect. And you have kind of like this wind in your sails and you get started and everything's exciting. And then it gets challenging, and then it gets hard, and then there's a little anger and a little like kicking and stomping of like, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. You said it was going to be hard, but I thought that I was exempt from the hard. and then we get in the mud a little bit, and I've seen a lot of clients get frustrated at what they thought business was going to be, and like versus where they're actually at now. So yeah, Amy, I kind of want to hear from you on that point of view too.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I've noticed doing this now for a couple of years, and I've had a lot of business clients. So this isn't just about mentees, not just about preceptors, this is every client that I've ever had.
Yeah.
You get to this point where it's hard and they're frustrated and they're definitely feeling down. And the coolest thing is when those clients show up like that and they're giving themselves permission to be there, or they're asking for permission to be there, which is another thing that we were going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to go through that emotion and they come out on the other side. And so when we truly get to feel that emotion of being down, it really allows us to shift through it instead of getting stuck there. And I watch this over and over and over again. And this can last for weeks. It can last for months for some individuals. Or it can last one session. It's like incredibly different for each individual.
Totally. An example that comes to mind is, and I'll talk from my own point of view here, my own experience of like, there were several moments in my first year of business to where I would show up to calls with my business coach in my group coaching container, and nothing that I had been doing for weeks on end had been working. And like, it was just, I was doing all the things. I was doing all the things correctly. I was coming from as an unattached place as possible. And I was checking the boxes on the list, team. I was trying, like genuinely giving 100% effort. And it felt like there was no momentum. There was nothing coming back to like validate that my effort had been going through. And that's a really slippery slope as a new coach, because you don't have enough experience to know that that is likely happening for you and not against you, right? That like nothing, I'm using air quotes, nothing is working because you might be burned out or shit might hit the fan like in a week that you need that extra time and space to handle whatever this hypothetical situation could be. I didn't know that at the time. And so there were like several weeks in a row to where I just showed up to my calls feeling really defeated. And I didn't want to feel defeated. That wasn't an emotion I was super comfortable with. And my coach had a really hard time pulling me out of it. And to eventually she was just like, okay, there is nothing more for us to coach around here. We just have to let this feeling run its course. And however long you want to let it run is how long it's going to run. And I had a real spicy first coach, y'all. I love her so much. She was hot. She was hot. And I didn't take that, like as she was leaving me hanging out to dry, but like I hear where you're coming from, right? Of like, there's no other mind jujitsu we can do until this feeling has run its course. And I'm in charge of the feeling. So whenever you're ready, I'm here for you. It's basically where we would. And that was not just one time that I ended up there. That was multiple times that I ended up there, right? And of course, I learned and got quicker and faster at being able to recognize this pattern and being like, oh, I've been here before. I have previous experience to where it's worked out. Things are always working out for me. I'm just going to keep going. It's going to be okay. But it was her giving the permission and just like calling it for what it was of like, all right, this feeling is really big. Let's let it be really big. And when it's done, we'll get back on the horse and we'll keep going. Versus me trying to shove and like not feel and just avoid. Because Amy, you know that makes it last longer.
Oh, Shelby, you got a really good point. I almost want to ask you a question. This is that shift of mindset that this is happening for me. how long did it take you to believe that? Because I feel like that's
Oh,
such a huge piece of this is like, how do we get to that trusting moment of being like, okay, if this is working for me?
yeah, good question. Good question. And my answer, I hope that it gives you permission to let it take time, because it took like 3 years, right? It took forever, or what felt like forever. And there's like two different perspectives you can look on that, of like, it only took 3 years for that to be my reality, versus like 3 years when I was in it felt like eternity, right? Because I didn't know when it was going to end. I didn't know, like, is this just how it is? And I think the antidote for that is that you have to keep going to give yourself more experience, more healing experiences, right? More corrective experiences, to where you're in the mud, you allow yourself to process, you allow yourself to be in the mud, and then you move through it and things are fine. Then your practice has momentum. Then that person that you reached out to 6 months ago gets back to you, and the fire is relit, and we keep going. But 3 years. And I even remember when Laura and I joined up together, there were it's only been within like the past year and some change that like we've had a wait list, and we don't, like, we are able to call in clients when we are ready, versus us having to invite people all of the time. But in the beginning, that was not the case. I invited every single client that I ever signed. So did Laura. Very much, we were practicing what we preached at the exact same time as our clients. And there will be times where we would just get a lot of not right nows, and a lot of no's, and a lot of let me know when your next group starts, but I'm not ready yet. And Laura would always say, this is just the calm before the storm. It's about to pick up. It's going to be like, she also was echoing in my brain of just like, it's okay. Let's enjoy this calm time before it gets really crazy in like 3 months, because we'll be so grateful that we rested and took just some chill time now for when it gets crazy in 3 months. And she was right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it did work out that way. And this is, I think every time we go to open up more mentee spots, the voice, it's still there. It's just way tinier than it ever was before. So hopefully everyone that's listening to, oh my God, 3 years of like, yeah, just give yourself the gift of some time. It's okay. But yeah, really, really good question.
Well, I have not had 3 years. And I know for me, for those of you who are like, I'm not 3 years out. I am not
Right.
there. One of the ways that it's been helpful for me, and I love Shelby's version of that and like her story of that, because I have used watching other individuals who are further along, and I've watched their process and then trusted that I would get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've spent a lot less time in comparison and more of like a driving force of, look what you can accomplish in a year. Look what you can accomplish in 2 years. Look what you can accomplish in 3 years. And that's been my driving force for my business on a constant basis. So I love watching others succeed. I don't often have to mute too many people. It does not make me uncomfortable. I get excited about their success. And I love that. I also understand when you're down in the dumps, clearing your space out to have that push forward when you're not feeling like you're getting a lot of momentum yet.
Right.
So I'm an advocate for both, but also, if you're watching other people's success, know that it's just a matter of time. If you keep going, like, you'll get there. And so that's what's really helped me.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful perspective shift. And also, as someone who's watched your evolution for a long time now, Amy, that I think that's one of your superpowers. And I don't mean that of like you have it and other people don't, of just like, this is something Amy has probably cultivated her whole life, and it's just paying off really well for you starting or being in your practice of being, whenever you catch yourself comparing, of like, that is what is possible for me. If they can do it, I can do it too. They've paved the way. It's going to be easier for me because someone else has gone first. And I think that is, it goes back to like that really popular phrase, that wisdom bomb that Heather Lapidus dropped at the Sedona retreat, was just like, why not you? It's not, oh, poor me, why can't I? It's why not? Of course you can. Of course, these are all skills that you can learn. And luckily, that perspective shift is free. It's just free, and you get a lot of practice as you scroll through social media. Like it can be something that you can embody very quickly if you challenge yourself.
Those words, they're skills that you can learn, has been another huge one that I constantly tell myself. Each and every time that, and I use this even with my clients. Like, is there a skill that can help you to move through this? Because they're stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, it might just be getting on the internet and watching a YouTube video.
Yeah.
It's like as simple as that, but each and every one of these is a skill. It's and we have this huge huge system that all information lives on. We can figure it out.
Yeah, every answer ever is at your fingertips in your pocket. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. It is. It all is a skill, and it's really easy to look at people who've been in the coaching game for 5, 10, 15 years and just think that these folks are innately perfect. And that is not true, right? I bet if you got to have coffee with any of them and ask them about their first year of business, they would have a long list of growing pains that they had to go through to get to where they are. But I think that in the world of like instant gratification, of really cheesy marketing, of like, you can have 6 figures in 6 months, we'll just build you this funnel and it'll happen overnight. Like, it's not it. It's not how it goes. And so if we can also really hone the practice of like showing up for what your business actually looks like, for showing up for you, of where you're actually at versus where you want your business to be or where you want to be personally, there's so much more joy to be experienced in that phase, and so much more, like, gratitude is more easily accessible when you're in that mindset, because the switch flips when it flips. It might be at the 8-month mark, it might be at the 12-month mark, it might be at the 24-month mark. Like, within those first 3 years of your practice, we're just like playing hot potato, really. Like, nothing's really predictable. We're shooting for predictability, but we're finding out what works for you. And it's a hurricane. It's a hurricane for lack of better words.
It's a good one. I like that.
Okay. So what happens, Amy, whenever you like give your clients permission to be where they're at, or when they're able to give themselves permission to be where they're at?
It's like amazing. So you see this shift in their face and their body language, in the way that they show up, on the way that they're just showing up right at that moment. It's like that. It's an instant shift in their being. It's crazy. And then after they do that, it's so funny. So they give themselves this permission, or even they borrow the permission from you. Like, that's definitely something that we hear a lot. Like, I will give them permission. It is okay to rest. And they're like, okay. I'm like, can we take a day off? And we see this so much in coaching practices and even on the preceptorship calls. But they come back the next week energized, feeling better. If they needed that moment of reprieve that they couldn't give themselves. And this is something that we hope that each and every one of you guys can learn how to give yourself permission to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you can give yourself permission to rest, or to take a break, or to take a reprieve, or to be in the dirt, all of a sudden, like, you will come out on the other side with more energy, more excitement. Your vibrancy comes back, and it's all because we are allowed to rest. Not only are we allowed to, we have to.
Mm-hmm.
We have to.
Yeah. Yeah. The visual that's coming to mind for me is, like, if you have a muscle that's in contraction, and instead of and the muscle's tired, right? And instead of the muscle releasing to let go, it's just like clenching harder and harder and harder. And it's starting to short circuit and twitch, and then you get like a cramp, and it's just tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And like that muscle will eventually fatigue to the point and it's going to have no capacity. It's going to need so much more downtime than if you just gave the downtime on the front end. Right.
Yes.
And I have experienced this. I know you have experienced this to where like you kind of like feel like you've reached your limit. You get the permission you need to rest. And you think that you're going to need like 7 days to rest, right? You think that you're going to need like 7 days of 12 hours of sleep at night. And you're going to need just like the most organic, perfect meals to refuel and nourish. You actually need like 12 hours. and then like the clarity comes and it all makes sense. And sometimes you do need 7 days. I don't want to discount that, but you often need less rest than you think. And it's just worth it to give it to yourself sooner than later. Cause the longer you wait, the more time it's going to take for you to recalibrate.
Yeah. And then the question is like, what does real rest mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, as all things, this is likely personal and curated to each person. But we can talk about like what that means for us, Amy, if you're okay doing that.
What this means for business for me is I put down the business stuff. Period. I set it down. I shut the laptop. I walk away and I leave it. It does not necessarily for me mean I need to be in bed with the covers over my head. It means that I give myself permission to get off social media, take an intentional, and for me, it's usually 24 hours. I usually go with 24 hours. I feel better. But I know that I've had shifts within even 6 hours. I don't like it doesn't always take even that much time. And it's funny because I will say, I will take a week off. I've never taken a week off. I've never needed to take a week off. I've only needed like 24 hours, probably the majority. But again, give yourself what you need.
Yeah.
But it's really shutting down that part of my brain and being okay with not having any of the answers and letting that portion go and really being present somewhere else in my life.
Yeah. Yes. Being present somewhere else. That whatever that means for folks, heed that advice, because what I'm going to say is basically a different take on just that little nugget of same. It's leaving my office. I'm not like secretly trying to fix a problem on my phone that I could better solve on my laptop. You know, like it's none of that. It's a complete disconnect from business. And usually for me, it involves like going and doing something playful. Like either it can be as simple as like going to the park with my 4-year-old. Like it can be really, really easy. It doesn't have to be some elaborate plan, which is where I get stuck sometimes, to where I'm like, I need a 4-week vacation to Fiji, and that's the only thing that's going to solve my problems. And that's not really necessarily available on a whim. So making it manageable and doable too. Going and doing something fun, going to a comedy show and laughing, going to dinner with a girlfriend, like just literally something so far away from your business. And then like, I also do want to acknowledge that if there is something that your business is bringing up that is like deeply triggering or deeply unsettling, we're not talking about that right now, right? Like we're talking about like normal fatigue. But if there is something like you're listening to this and you're like, wow, Amy and Shelby are just like full of it. This isn't this like what I'm experiencing. Like I can feel it in my body. It's heavy. I don't know how to move it. Going to a comedy show is just going to piss me off. I'm not going to have any fun. That is not what we are necessarily speaking to right now. That would likely require a different type of coach or therapist or something. And we have lots of resources on that. So feel free to reach out if you need one. But we're talking of just like the frustration of running a business, and like, you just like want to go kick rocks. You're just mad. You were frustrated. It's hard. But I do want to make just a little distinguishing discernment between those two things. But I'm always able to recalibrate faster than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally never has it taken me longer than I thought. So even if you just need to like shoot your coach a quick message and be like, I just need some permission to like be done. Because I think that there's some weird, I don't even know what the word for it would be, but like the permission from your coach hits different, right? Than the permission from yourself.
Yeah, because your coach, in my experience, there's always that thought, and I'm so much better at it, but at the beginning, is this resistance or do I really need a break? And so going to my coach and basically discussing this or bringing this up, I get clarity, and now I trust that clarity. I already knew the answer, but our brains are tricky things. We make up stuff all the time. And so I can easily be like, oh, I'm totally in resistance. I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to do anything. Like, this is why my business is not going to work. And like all the stories.
The resistance, Amy. That's the resistance.
Right. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, actually, none of that's true. I'm going to go take a break and I will be back.
Yeah. And if you find yourself, folks, asking that question of like, is this resistance or do I just really need a break? How about you just take the break and then we can reassess, right? Like,
love that.
Go maybe take a nap and then ask that question again. Especially sleep. I think sleep is underrated because like your subconscious processes things differently when you are asleep, and it's actually productive. Right? Like if you are just like spinning your wheels on something and you cannot find the clarity through it, and it's just like you're super, super deep in the mud, go take a nap and then take 12 hours where you don't think about it at all, and then revisit and see if you feel differently about it, because it's likely that you will. And in the really big picture, if you are committed to your practice for the long term, for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 12 hours means nothing. 24 hours means nothing. 12 weeks means nothing, right? It's also, there's a long game here too. We gotta keep you guys going, keep you protected so that you still want to be showing up for your practice long term. Yeah. And I do want to mention that it is okay to like outsource this permission too until you can do it for yourself. Like Amy and I have said many times on this episode today, like we've outsource the permission many times, and any coach worth their salt will help you, like will keep pointing it out of like equip you to do this for yourself. But I think that even took me like 18 months to realize too. So if you can learn it quicker than that, you're a faster learner than me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I was just lucky. I got to see that I needed breaks, and I had people to point it out to me on a regular basis through my whole journey. I hired a coach very early. Highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, it helps. It helps. All right. So the last thing that we kind of wanted to mention here is, and I hope it's coming through, is that like Amy and I have both had messy personal growth, right? Like I will speak for myself. I thought that personal development was the cheat code to make everything rainbows and butterflies all the time. And what I have since learned is that personal development is amazing at developing your capacity for all of it, the rainbows and butterflies and the emotional hurricanes as well. So it opens up your capacity to hold everything and experience more, which is the point of life, right? Is to, like, you can't experience love without experiencing heartbreak. It's just like the duality, and we get to live in it in this like gray area and learning how to hold it all. So I hope that that's coming through clearly here, of just like, we've earned our badges here. We've earned this mindset of like, we've been through it ourselves. But if there's one little nugget to take away here, is that like, if this does not come innately to you, start developing the skill now of giving yourself permission, of being where you are and developing the capacity to be okay with it, because this is a trait of successful people. I would even go as far as to say like a successful athlete or a successful business person, a successful nurse, like a bedside nurse. Like this is like a just straight across the board, a trait of successful people who create success and then like still love what they do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Without burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without wanting to run away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because like how many times have we seen like really successful people? No one's, I wish I was having a specific example come to mind, but I see a lot of coaches like on my Instagram feed, they talk about how they built their business the first time and they hated it. Like they genuinely like hated the whole process. And then they developed a business that they really didn't love showing up for. And they were making multiple seven figures. And I'm like, dude, no price is worth that. And then they had to like burn that to the ground and kind of start completely over. And that has not been my experience per se. I think that Laura and I luckily got our hands on some good coaches in the beginning that allowed us to build from a heart-centered space versus like what the world tells you to do. And that's hopefully what we are passing on. And I think what we're passing on to our clients as well. But this is, let's maybe speak to that one more thing. If we could give a nugget of advice of like how to start building this skill, Amy, what do you think would be potent?
It is okay to be exactly where you are and know that you're striving for better. It's in some book. I know that that's in some book somewhere, I'm sure, but it's true. It's the duality of being okay exactly where you are and knowing that that you can do better and that you're working towards better and that you're in this beautiful, beautiful learning process. And I say beautiful because that is how I look at it so that it doesn't drive me crazy. So I remind myself how beautiful it is to learn on a constant basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And also by practicing this for yourself, it's going to start sticking out like a sore thumb in your clients too. Like you're going to be able to recognize it. And what a gift to be able to pass on to your clients as well. Because it will go well beyond your time together. This will be something that they can embody in layers for many moons in the future. But yeah, I like that it's so you don't go crazy, right? Like, because there's two options. We can either like learn to love the roller coaster or we can just scream the whole time. Choice is yours.
I've tried both. One is a lot funner than the other.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing I want to say here is I've noticed in our group space as well. So like we intentionally curate the mentorship in particular, the group experience on purpose, right? Because of kind of like a layered effect of when you are starting something new, you will get used to letting yourself down. That if you like have to do something scary, you can talk yourself out of it. And if no one is holding you accountable, or if you're just relying on self-accountability, it doesn't last too long. Then you have a coach, right? And so the coach is like an added layer of like, yeah, I can be accountable to this external source. But even then, team, it eventually wears off. Like it eventually it doesn't hold as much like meaning anymore. So then the third layer is you have social accountability to where you are accountable to 7 other people in your group. And if you are coming to calls week after week after week with, I didn't do it, or I didn't do the thing over and over and over again, it's going to make you uncomfortable. And that's kind of by design and on purpose. However, I have seen people feel feelings about how they don't want to be fully seen in the group situation because they don't want to drag the group down. They don't want to be the only one not doing the thing. And so they like closet a piece of themselves, and we can all feel it. We're all nurses. We're all coaches. We all got the spidey sense. We can all feel it. But as a coach, you can only push so hard. Like if you're not willing to bring it to the table, then that's on you. Right. But I want to offer kind of like a sciencey bit here that like we as humans are designed to co-regulate with other humans. So the sooner you can allow yourself to be seen and heard in this group setting, it's really powerful. And I've seen people go from being stuck to not stuck in like 12 minutes, really fast. It's not the case every time, but it can happen. So give yourself the chance for that to happen instead of spinning your wheels for days, for weeks, for months on end.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to the way you're talking to yourself. Just listen. Don't judge. Just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's so much growth in just that one place.
Yeah. I know that in coaching, we don't tout a lot of quick fixes because I don't know that a lot of them exist, but I think that this can be one of them. This can be one of them. The sooner you can be radically vulnerable with yourself and with your group, this can be game changing. Game changing. Whew. All right, Amy. That was a lot. That was a lot, everybody. How we doing? Get a drink of water, get a snack. Is there anything else, Amy, that you want to add to have it feel complete? I'm feeling pretty good on my end.
No, I'm feeling good. I feel like this was a really good topic for right now. I feel like I just hear a lot of people talking about this and really wanted to find some support for them and give them a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is hopefully just advice that will continue to serve you in different seasons of life. I'm coming back from maternity leave next week, and I have been humbled many times over the past 3 months of like, I really thought that by like week 4 or 5 postpartum, I would at least have the bandwidth to like reach out to my clients and see how they're doing and just be like, hey, I'm checking in. How are you? And the answer was no, I did not. I did not have capacity. I was still very much in the trenches of not sleeping. And I just didn't have it. And I had some feelings about that. And then very quickly was able to be like, hey, you gave yourself this time. You might as well take it. Right. So even as you create financial success in your practice, there will be other areas in your life that call on you to practice this as well. And the work never stops. There's no final destination. You will get to learn how to move through this time and time again, and hopefully get smoother with it each time, each time that you do. But yeah, I hope let us know what has resonated for you in this episode. Come to the Facebook group, The Successful Nurse Coaches, and just keep us in the loop. Did we make you mad? Did we provide you some permission? We would love to know either way. If you are looking to connect with Amy, you can also find her in our Facebook group. You can search Amy Frame, and she pops up in there, and we will include her contact details in the notes here. But Amy, we are so thankful that you are on our team and just guiding people in private practice from such a powerful place. And I know that you fully embody this work, which is, I know it's why it's so potent for the coaches that you work with. And thanks for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelby. And thank you for really practicing what you preach and letting us watch that. It's been, it really is. It's been amazing. So thank you for that as well.
Thanks for saying that. All right, team. We will see you next week, same time, same place, and we wish you a happy week of coaching. Bye.